Okay, so next couple of days, we are going to be studying strategic sourcing plans and what that means to ISM. So implement strategic sourcing plans aligned with organizational and stakeholder objectives. So you got a process, and it's the selection and management of suppliers with a focus on achieving the long-term goals of business. So here's another guy's version of it. Has a lot to do with selecting, researching suppliers, and supplier relationship management is big now. Just a strategic sourcing process in any organization is clearly defined set of steps with starting and ending points. Now, don't confuse this with category or commodity management. So in commodity management, you have a plan for the commodity, but a strategic sourcing of who the supplier is going to, what suppliers we're going to use is part of that commodity strategy. So it's a set of steps with ending points in a specific sequence. Process is focused on selecting and managing suppliers to achieve the long-term goals of the business. And strategic sourcing does not apply to all purchasing situations, but is generally applied when the purchase reaches a certain dollar threshold. So if you remember on our Kralik matrix, if you're down here in the lower left with routine or tactical, you're not going to do strategic sourcing. Only in the strategic suppliers are you going to do that. So here's ISM's process. And, it's the scope of supply management and responsibility. This is the process concept here in the middle. Below is the supporting foundation. These 5. All these things kind of help support the strategic sourcing process. And above are the 5 core influencers. So supplier relationship management, green social responsibility, risk, business strategy alignment, financial cost, revenue generation, innovation. But we're going to concentrate on this middle part here. This is their strategic sourcing process. So looking at this first step is data management and analysis. Analyze internal and external data to better understand the threats and opportunities, and then do a spend analysis. How much is spent on what and from whom? Allow a thorough internal analysis of requirements. Commodity codes need to be hierarchical, which ours are. So you can sum up all the aluminum products. Helps determine the level of time and resources that purchasing should invest in the strategic sourcing process for a given situation. So obviously you're not going to spend a lot of time on your low spend categories. Analyze the market. So determine the market structure, monopoly, oligopoly, etc. Determine the number and nature of capable suppliers globally. So there might be a number of metal bender suppliers, but there's only a certain number that can meet our requirements. Buyers or sellers markets determine how purchasing will approach a sourcing decision. So in a buyer's market, that means we can use leverage because there's more suppliers that are trying to get our business. In a seller's market, that means there's only a few suppliers and we're competing with a bunch of buyers to get their business. So you got to focus on relationship building and collaboration. Oops. And then supplier marketing strategies. Suppliers will use different tactics to maximize their profits based on the market they're in. This is market intelligence determines how purchasing will approach a sourcing requirement. So do they use like loss leaders? Do they bundle stuff? How do the suppliers operate in the industry you're looking at? Every class of product or a company purchases should have a defined category strategy. And for like office products, it's going to be pretty simple. All right. So the next step. Yep.
Could you go back just real quick?
Yep.
Okay. I just Sorry, I wanted to take a picture of the slide. All right, thanks.
Yeah. So next step is to develop a category strategy. Remember when ISM uses category, we use commodity. It's interchangeable. How should the buying firm deal with this industry? So discussion may focus on desired number and the size of the suppliers, how big a revenue. We want medium-sized suppliers, we want big suppliers, location and proximity of the suppliers, type of relationship to develop with the supplier. And determine the position in the credit matrix. We'll cover that again in a minute. That's the 4-box deal. And conduct market intelligence. So market intelligence is just finding out about the market and analyzing the specific industry that you're looking at. So it's results of gathering and analyzing information about the aggregate forces, yada, yada, yada. So when you're doing market intelligence and you're looking at the industry, the structure, conduct, performance model from McKinsey or Porter's 5 Forces are the best models. SWOT, you can use it on an industry, but I usually use that on individual companies within the industry. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, threats. So develop tactics to implement the category strategy. How are you going to, you come up with your strategy, your sourcing strategy, and then you're going to develop tactics to implement it. So the category strategy is usually a 3 to 5 year action plan that defines what needs to be done to attain a stated goal. So what is your goal for your commodity? What is it you're trying to do over the next 3 to 5 years? Should enable a company to establish, maintain, or gain a competitive advantage, which is why we would do it. And strategy must support the corporate goals and strategy. So you can't go out and buy a bunch of Navistar suppliers, the cheap bunch of crap that they put in their trucks, because our trucks aren't sold that way. Our trucks are sold as quality trucks. So we have to use different suppliers. Presence of a strategy gives purchasing guidance in finding and selecting suppliers. Like I say, we can't use the same suppliers that Navistar uses. And components of a category strategy. So definition, what's the span, what's the policy, do you have to send it out to 3 different sources, etc. Type and location, supplier relationship, market condition, competition among suppliers, number of qualified suppliers, lead times, contractual obligations, rollover and location of inventory, who's going to hold it. And category strategies need to be viewed each year. They should be written down, and we'll go over that a little later on how to create these things. So this is a maturity model. It's used a lot in software. But when we apply it to a category strategy, the bottom is ad hoc. This is discussions with your AD on what strategy should be. And at the top is integrated. So the strategy documents would reside on a shared drive with engineering and quality, and everybody's looking at them and everybody follows them. So in between, there's a few steps. We got a lot of stuff down here. We got some stuff in basic and some stuff in structured. We haven't really gotten to the integrated set yet. And not all commodities are going to require this top level integrated strategy. Only a certain number of strategic commodities. Most of them are going to be down in here. It's a basic written strategy of where you're headed, but it's not a lot of detail.
Are you talking PACCAR or in general?
PACCAR.
Yeah.
So this is on your desk. Yeah.
Right. Right. That's what I figured, because integrated would mean, yeah.
Yeah. So we would have a drive that us in engineering can get to, and all the documents are there, and they're updated annually, and quality, and everybody uses the same stuff and follows it. The problem with this is engineers can go blab stuff that you don't want them to blab.
Right.
So if you overshare, you can get burned, but that's the idea anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is we're changing all the time, right? So
Right,
having that would just be a whole nother beast in and of itself.
right. So, I mean, purchasing should drive the strategy, and those guys
Mhm.
should have they should have a read-only capability to look at it and see what it is. But anyway, we don't get that high here. We get maybe up to the structured level.
Yeah. Yeah. Just too many components on a truck to have an integrated
Yeah, like I
commodity
say,
strategy for every desk.
yeah, most of the stuff's going to be down here in basic, and there's probably a number of ad hoc ones too, where we just kind of do a verbal thing. All right, so establish a reasonable expected price for the product using a combination of the following. So what we're trying to do at is how much should this part cost that we're buying? So you can do the bottom up cost analysis. You get to a should cost and a clean sheet. So the difference between the two is the should cost assumes the overhead structure that's already in place with your supplier. The clean sheet goes one step further and says, this is what a best in class overhead cost structure should be. Labor rate, cheapest labor, material, best material, and all that. And then you've got price analysis, which everybody's pretty familiar with. Get 3 quotes, see where they triangulate to. You hear this price arbitrage line every once in a while. It's not really arbitrage. It's just working one supplier against the other to drive the price down. TCO, purchase price plus associated pre and post delivery costs. And then here's a little schematic for when you want to use price analysis and when you want to use cost analysis. So if it's industry standard competitive products like tires, you can do a cost analysis, but it's not going to do you any good. Suppliers own everything, and the price is going to be what it's going to be. You just go trade one supplier off against the other. That's how that industry works. But a lot of the stuff we do is custom, so we got to do cost analysis. And then you got to, what's your concern, fair price or cost reduction? And these are some of the levers you can pull. All right, next step is supplier selection and contract negotiation, as well as the evaluation and selection of suppliers. So steps for the supplier selection: analyze responses, conduct site visits, offer preferred suppliers a second chance, meet lowest competitive quote. Again, if you're working for the government, you can't do that kind of stuff. Conduct competitive teardowns, review, update category strategy, develop a negotiation plan, and sign the agreement. And write out your negotiation plan. We'll cover that more in task 1C1. And then the last step is supplier development and performance management. So you got to determine the appropriate relationship, develop an action plan for attaining what you want to get some key metrics. And if the supplier doesn't meet requirements, but still the best supplier available, you may choose to develop their capabilities. You can assign supplier quality to frequent site visits. You can go out there and do conference calls with them. Financial investment by buyer is also an option. And then you've got strategic sourcing plans at PACCAR. So this is a PACCAR model here. And you've probably seen this. It's an Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of different tabs. But this will give you the basics of a sourcing strategy. It's got a number of things in it: supplier status overview, part family, spend analysis, all that good stuff. So it's a decent document. We developed that some years ago. And strategic sourcing offers both risks and benefits. So optimize supplier base, greater supplier innovation, cost savings. Sometimes you get unexpected price increases, difficulty in moving to another supplier. And then policies and procedures. I think that may be where we want to stop. Or no, I guess we got one more here. Host meetings, identify leaders, dedicate space. Analytical skills, yeah, you need analytical skills. All right, here's our question. In order to prepare for negotiating a new contract, a supply management professional wants to know how a supplier prices engineering services. The supply manager gathers information about the current pricing and the characteristics of the jobs. Which of the approaches listed below represents a way to arrive at an equation relating job characteristics to engineering service prices? So he's trying to do a correlation between job characteristics and engineering service prices. What would do a correlation for?
Would it be B, market analysis?
Yeah, regression analysis. Got to think back to your high school and college days. Regression will only tell you if the two are correlated. It will not tell you cause and effect.
I was guessing B too, Katie.
Let's see. D, yep, regression analysis. Those tells you if two variables are correlated. All right, there's 5 questions out there. Why don't you guys go ahead and get on them, and we will go over answers at 2:25. Unless everybody gets done, raise your hand. 188. Okay, let's go look at some answers. Number one is delta, because the 5 major steps, sourcing are data management analysis. And it said she just finished developing category strategy. So the next step would be obtaining a reasonable price. 2 is alpha. Engineering needs to follow supplier management strategy and the approved supplier list. They don't get to go rogue. 3 is delta. Supply strategy is a long-term 3 to 5 year action plan. 4 is Charlie. Nature of the hypothesis should dictate what data are collected and analyzed. And 5 is also Charlie. The component is a non-standard part with custom molds, so a cost analysis is necessary. Any questions? All right.
Would you say 3? Sorry.
Oh, hang on.
3.
3. Supply managed strategy is a 3 to 5 year action plan rather than a list of short-term activities. You were looking for the one that didn't belong, and the list of short-term activities didn't go with the other 3.
So A, D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
D.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at it. So it's like 3 to 5 year action plan, yes. Exists for every class, yes. Provides guidance, yeah. And list of short-term activities, no, it's a 3 to 5 year thing.
Yeah, I had B just based on our discussion about, but I guess theoretically it should.
Yeah, but you're looking for a not.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that a supply strategy does exist for every class of product.
Well, in theory, it's
You know, I
mean, in theory, it's supposed to.
Right.
In actuality, yeah, probably not. All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, Rick.
Bye.
All right, thanks
Thank
for.
you.